Alright, let's see how we can do with our super fancy coil winder here, antenna winder. I've got a second turn put on here. I've got to go 29 turns. All I did is I mounted the spool, well, I guess everything's in the frame, spool of wires over here. And I just got something in the chuck to keep the spool from falling down. I gave myself about 4 inches of extra wire here to tie everything in, and I'm just pinching this so the wire doesn't slip underneath. I'm pulling it, stretching it. Oh, it went underneath. I was afraid of that. Let's back it up. I can't pull quite that hard. That's the one flaw in this design. Okay, that's 2. We're going for 3. Guess I got to be a little gentler with my pull. There we go. Okay. 2. There's 3. I guess I could start gluing these down to keep them in place. It's not going to be super pretty, but that's yeah, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to pull this wire out and stretch it to make it straight again. I tried this a couple times and now I got a lot of kinks in the wire. Let me redo this. In fact, I might just cut this off and start again. Yeah, maybe I can pull it straight. Let's see here. Tie it up here. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pull on it hard enough, I think. If you stretch it, it usually straightens out. Stay. Ah, it's working. I'll just pull it good and taut. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll cut off this first 3 inches. Let's start this whole process over again. I'm losing my voice lately. I'll trim it later. I'll put an extra amount here. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, and I've got all of this to play with. Okay, there's turn 1 started. I'm going to try not to pull it too hard this time. There's 2. There's turn 3. I think I might nail these down. I'm going to use this pretty much instant cure UV or near UV adhesive here. Let's see if we can get this to work. This stuff was in the refrigerator since last year. Now the 3 wires are stuck together, and I don't think I can get enough UV down inside there. Oops, I think I just glued it to my form. It's alright, we can sacrifice the form. I thought about using CNA, but didn't want to end up with it all over my fingers. Alright, that's stuck down. I'm wondering if this stuff is too old. It's not setting up. I have a stronger UV light. I'm gonna go get that. Alright, it's curing faster with my UV LED flashlight here. These are, I believe, true UV. Is this empty? Probably empty. This is an old tube. Maybe I should open the new one. I've got some UV lights here. This one's 395 nanometers, and I believe this is true UV. It's got a glass-faced LED in it. The stuff you get with a standard LED, plastic LED, they're not UV. They're near UV, but they're just basically purple light. I don't think us mere mortals are allowed to have the real UV adhesive that your dentist uses. This stuff's pretty cool. It doesn't set up until it's exposed. And that's cured, just like that. Dry. Stuff your dentist uses, I think they use a true UV light. Alright, we've got 3 turns on our way here. Now this isn't going to be perfect by any stretch. I want to try to get enough of these nailed down here so that I can wind up against them tightly and not slip underneath the form. Get that cured. Just like that. That's set up. And we'll do the same over here, I think. The more I can tie these together, the harder I can pull on them. Done. Hard as a rock. Pretty cool stuff. So we've got 3 here. Nail these down. And this is going to be the process. I won't bore you with the whole thing. And no, it's not going to be perfect. But it'll be good enough. It'll be better than not having one. And it's critical that these radios have the antenna because your AVC voltage runs through this for your RF amp. Or if you don't have an RF amp, it runs through it for your converter tube. Okay, I'm going to stop the camera. I'm just going to continue this same process. What's interesting here is the wires are bonding together beautifully, but they are not bonding to the hardboard here. And I tried a few drops of CNA over here, and that's not working either. So I'll get the coil wound, but I'm not sure how I'm going to glue it down to the board effectively. That's going to be a problem if the whole thing falls off. And by the way, these are true UV. I am holding them down to where they're not reflecting back in my eyes, and I'm averting my gaze to keep the UV out of my eyes. You can feel the heat off of these. This has got an 18650 cell in it. These are powerful little lights. Big Clive turned me on to these dark beam. These have an 18650 in them, and you can feel the heat coming off of these. They're fairly powerful lights, so you want to be careful with these. Okay, we're going to keep soldiering on here. Another piece of information. I've been experimenting back and forth with the different lights, and it appears that the crappy little purple LED that came with the adhesive is as effective, if not faster, than the powerful true LED ultraviolet light. So this stuff must be optimized for whatever wavelength this LED is. It's not UV, I mean it's purple, but it just like that. This actually is a little bit slower, so I thought they'd be a better option, but apparently not. And yes, I've tried back and forth again a few times. This is at least twice as fast, if not 3 times faster. I just thought it would be better to use the more powerful UV light. Like my old drill sergeant said, there you go thinking again. Just do. And I think I found the trick to bonding the wire to the board. When I put my adhesive in here, I was being very sparing. Now I'm letting it flow out ahead of the wire, and it levels out, and when I UV cure the bond between wires, it cures the part that's out here laying on the board, and when I lay the next wire on top of it and lay some more adhesive in, the two adhesives bond, and it's getting pretty solid. So I think that's the trick. Just don't be too sparing with the adhesive. Let it flow ahead of your coil, cure it, lay a wire over it, put some more adhesive, cure it, and that'll take. As we're doing this process, we're learning as we go. This is the very first time I've done this. I fear that I have a couple of overlapped turns in this corner. I'm not going to do anything about that. Screw it. But next time I'll know what to do. I was pulling the wire tight, trying to hold these down and pull the wire tight, and I think that was a mistake. What I've done is I've offset the spool, and I'm just letting it feed naturally, holding the corner down here. And after I've got it turned, I'm putting a drop of adhesive. I'm curing it. This is on the ends, and this doesn't take very long. Then I'm just turning it and letting the wire feed in naturally so that it's not putting too much stress and pulling underneath. You learn as you go. I mean, it's the very first time I've done this. So I'm going to glue this section down. I got a little nail here I'm using to push, and we'll glue it here, and we'll glue it here. It's starting to go a little bit faster now that I'm figuring out the process. I thought I was going to be here all night. But, we'll put another drop here, work it in. And this light that I'm using is nothing more than a button cell with 2 leads of the LED, and it presses a lead down. Pretty basic. And then I'm just pinching it and turning it, and the wire lays right in. And if I had done this from the very beginning, I don't think I'd have any overlapping turns, but I was trying to pull it straight and tight. I was too worried about getting it straight through here. And I'm not worrying about that anymore. And I'm going to put another drop here because this turn didn't take. I'll push that in using my little nail pusher here. Alright, and we'll just turn it again and continue that process down. We'll push the wire over, glue it, and continue on like that. Where's the button? I'd forgotten I had this. I got this. Big Clive did a review of this probably 5 years ago. What this is for curing UV cure fingernail polish. So every few turns I'll put this over here for a cycle and let it just deep soak the UV or the near UV into the adhesive. That way I don't have to stand here holding the light, and when this times out I'll start and I'll put down 3 or 4 more coils, and then there it goes, just timed out. And do that again. And by the way, if somebody works in a place that winds coils or has coil winding equipment for this type of flat wound coil, there's a market for these. Not necessarily the back. All of these have just about the same dimensions, and they're all between, say, 27 and 29 turns, and somewhere in the order of 190 to 200 microhenries of winding. They're all pretty much the same. All of these 5-tube radios, all American 5s, use basically the same tuning capacitor, or the same capacitance range in the tuning capacitor. And if you could just sell the flat wound coils for us, or restorers, to put on a back, these radios have to have them. The ones that came with a coil antenna, loop antenna on the back, need them because the ABC voltage goes through it. And probably 40% of the radios that you see at the flea markets or online, the backs are missing. Somebody's broken the back, lost it, thrown it away, and they're selling off the radio, grandpa's radio with the back disappeared years ago. If somebody was selling the flat wound coil, I'm sure people would buy them. I know I would. If I could find a nice clean flat pack coil that I could just glue to the surface, I'd pay $10-15 for something like that. Anyway, just an idea for somebody who has access to the equipment to do it. And the learning continues. That other tube that I had like this one was empty, so I had been using this one. Now this is supposed to be activates with UV light. I've discovered that, and this is the LED out of one of these. I just got tired of dealing with the coin cell. Note, this fluoresces. I hope the camera sees this. This does not. This one that's not fluorescing is the adhesive, and it says UV light glue, just like the other bottle does. The one that doesn't fluoresce is the UV adhesive that came in the kit with the LED light. This one was a different kit. Now, it didn't come with a UV light. 2 bottles came, and it was called a refill pack. Under this fluorescent light, same effect. This one fluoresces, this one does not, although the fluorescence is nowhere near as bright with this guy. With 395, is this the 395? Yes, this is the 395 nanometer. That really brightens up. Again, this one does not. And the 365, same story. The 365 appears to be close to the same wavelength as this guy, just from the relative brightness of the fluorescence. Of course, if I put them both together, it gets brighter. But so these adhesives seem to be formulated for whatever light is supplied with them. They're not like universal. And I found this adhesive sets up much faster and cleaner. This is a little bit tacky. This one's just slippery. It's hard and slippery. And this one still feels tacky, even after hitting it multiple times with various UV lights. So this is Visbella. V-I-S-B-E-L-L-A. Visbella. Let's see if we can see that. And it seems to be the fastest curing and the cleanest curing, but only with the little LED And again, this isn't real UV, it's near UV because it's a plastic LED. It appears to set up faster and cleaner. Now, next time I'm in the home improvement store, I'll see if they still have this brand with its light, and we can give that one a try. But there's a definite difference between the adhesives and the wavelengths. Even though they're all commercial, off-the-shelf type of things, I suspect this particular brand, somebody said, let's not be, let's get away from anything near real UV so that we don't get sued for eye damage, and formulated their glue to work with this purplish blue light. You know, we live in a very litigious society here in the United States. But that's set up and it's dry feeling. It's hard and it's slippery, where the other stuff is still sticky feeling. It's set up, but it feels sticky on the surface, where the clear one, almost 99.9% of that sticky feeling is gone. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm not a chemist. But I do know that this one responds better to this little tiny LED, which I'm now running on a power supply. So, something else to keep under your hat. Other things I've learned. I started with this form because I have another antenna down here that has rounded ends. But I decided to try to emulate these corners. Now, no way I'm going to get those nice perfect squared off corners, but this has extended corners and I've got a small radius on there, but the coil has ended up over here basically round anyway, so I probably would have been fine with that. With this, I would have had much more room to lay the wire in and get adhesive in. At this point, I've run out of room to lay the wires in. So I'm going to take a quick inductance reading. I know this is 200 microhenries. I'd say 99% of the radios out there are 200 microhenries. The coil may be wound smaller with more turns or bigger, you know, but they all equal about 200 microhenries. So if you make the coil basically the same size as your back plate, start with 30 turns if you don't have any test equipment. Just get 30 turns on there. And you'll be able to tell very quickly with the radio, using the radio itself, whether you have too many or not enough turns. Almost all of the tuning capacitors in these All-American 5s are the same value. About 400 picofarads at the full mesh. But what you do is, there's an alignment process in there for tuning your antenna. There's an antenna trimmer on your tuning capacitor, and it'll have you set it at a specific frequency and peak it. But for the sake of testing, you go down to the low end of the band, say 600, and you peak it, and you say, okay, it peaked at 600. Then go up to the high end of the band at 1700, and if you can't get a peak up there, you've got too many turns, too much inductance. So take a couple of turns off and you'll find that the 600 point moves as well as the high end. If you can get to the high end with no problem, but you can't tune down to the low end, you don't have enough turns. But if you start with 27 or 29 turns on there, you'll be fine. You can just unwind any extra wire that might be on there. If you do have an inductance meter of some kind, shoot for 200 microhenries. Granted, it's quicker and easier if you've got the meter, but you don't really need it. Now, I want to see where I'm at this point. And let's see here. Primary, huh? Inductance. Come on. Not making connection. Whoop! I saw a 200 flash by, but I probably don't have enough insulation off of the lead here. That one's on there. That one's on there. No, I'm not seeing it. Not getting a good connection. I'm not getting anything repeatable. No, I'm not getting anything repeatable here. Oh, 167, there we go. 167 microhenries. So, I need to add turns. It appears. Yep, 167 microhenries. So I'm not up to 200 microhenries yet. Now let's see what I've got on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There's only 25 turns. Your inductance changes with the square of your turns ratio. So 2 or 3 more turns will probably get me up there to 200 microhenries. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll just leave the ends unglued for now. This isn't going to come out pretty. I don't even know. I might end up ripping this all apart and starting over. Granted, this is not a museum quality restoration. Only reason I'm fixing this set is so it doesn't get thrown away. I was just going to clean it up, make a back for it, and make a new dial and pass it on to somebody, whomever. But yeah, let's try 3 more turns. I'm going to go 4 more turns on here. I'll ignore gluing the ends for now, and we'll see where we're at. Okay, in order to get the extra turns on, I went back to the laser and I've extended this. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. There are a couple of turns here that are overlapped and a couple here that are overlapped, but for what this is, I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to continue winding this, add a few more turns until I've got 200 microhenries of inductance, and then glue the whole thing down firmly. So we'll carry on, we'll pick it up after I've got the extra turns on there. Okay, in order to improve the process, we're learning as we go here. I had thought about, in fact I had holes programmed in the 4 corners here at one point so I could put screws to hold these 2 pieces more closely together. They're still going to flex. You can't put them out here because you can't wind the wire in. I probably should have been using a clamp since the very beginning, but the problem is it slows the process down so much. You see, I've got my wire captured now. It won't move. There, now it's in position. I'm clamping it down so that it can't ride up over the winding next to it. When you're young, you got all the patience in the world. At 73, I'm running out of hours. So I'll never forget the vulture sitting on the wire talking to his buddy, and he says, "Patience, hell, I'm going to kill something." Let's continue on here. I'm just going to keep clamping, unclamping, clamping, unclamping as we go, working my way around until I've got 29 turns on this thing. In fact, I might go 30 now that I've opened up the end. I can always back off a couple. Okay, we took it out to 30 turns, and as expected, we're over. We have 231 microhenries now. So we'll get this thing glued down solidly all the way around, and then we can pull 1 or 2 turns off. I suspect 1.5 turns will probably bring me right down to 200 microhenries. This isn't hypercritical. You've got the trimmer cap on your tuning capacitor, and it'll cover, you know, you can probably be 10 or even 15 or 20 high or low and still net the thing in. because you can tweak the trimmer capacitor. But 231 is a good result, and almost the same now. It's 29 turns on the other one. This is 30 turns, so I'm within a turn of the other one. 29 turns? I think it was 29 turns on the other one. And the other one had about 1.5 inches width of winding, and this is right around 1 5/8 inches because it's not nearly as neat a coil, but that'll do the job. Let me get this taken apart and we'll glue it down. Okay, here we have 2 Stromburg Carlsons with the antennas on them. Can't even tell the difference from factory. Come on guys, work with me. We gotta give the trolls something to complain about. That'll do the job. This set's never gonna be a museum piece. You'll understand. These videos are going to be out of sequence, and when you see the repair on this one, you'll understand why I'm just kind of like, but we're going to get this one working anyway. We have even added the correct part number, just like the original has a part number. We've added the part number, just like our friends from the Big C when they make counterfeits. They put the part numbers on them. Of course they do. We have the external antenna connection, just like the original. There's an 8 picofarad capacitor on both of these. This one's on the opposite side because I needed to hold it here for a terminal strip so I could put the original little slide-on clips in place. I didn't have the, I don't have the terminals they used here. They pressed in. But at any rate, this should work. It's the right inductance. It looks from the outside like the real thing, and we're calling that done. Now, when I do the next one of these, it'll come out a lot better. Now, I poured a lot of extra adhesive in here. It comes a lot neater from the little short bottle I had. Is more watery, more runny, and I just poured a big bead of it in here and then cured it. This lumpy looking section is where I did it turn by turn by turn. I think next time I will change over to a round ended form, and I'm just going to wind the whole coil without trying to hold it in place around corners. I'm just going to use a round ended form, and then just pour the adhesive in like this and cure it. That way it'll be a lot neater. But live and learn. I'm not going to take that apart, not for this set. It's not worth it. And again, you'll see why when the repair video for this set comes out. This set it's been a challenge. I've got the correct schematic on the way. I've got the correct potentiometer for the volume control on the way. This one's a 500K. It's supposed to be a 1 meg. The dial face for this one's in process. We'll do a video on that. When we get that cleaned up and made, we'll put that back on here. We'll string the dial string. Got all the rust off of this. This was in horrible shape. Took a wire brush to that, cleaned it up, and clear coated it, and that looks in pretty good shape at this point. The chassis cleaned up nicely. A little bit of alcohol and some rubbing, and it came clean. So the only rusty areas were here on this shaft, and there was one other spot, but it cleaned up nice. So it's in pretty good shape. We've got a cover on the filter cap I printed because the paper was chewed by rats, so that looks black, just like the original one did. The real original one's paper. The reason they do that is this floats above ground. The B- is above ground, so the potential is there if you touch this cap to get bit. So make sure to have a shield on. I'm not using the cap, just using all the grounding lugs on it, or the common lugs on it. Okay, that's it. We're gonna wrap this one up. I'm tired, I'm hungry, my back hurts, and time for me to take a break, go get something to eat and relax for a while. I'm the radio mechanic. I hope somebody found some of this information useful. I hope I save you some trouble and mistakes along the way. I certainly made plenty of them winding this one. I've learned, and the next one of these I do ought to look pretty darn nice. But again, for this set, I'm not going to worry about it. I just want it functional. I'll clean up the cabinet, make the cabinet look pretty, and we'll send that one down the road. Somebody will, you know, I'll be upfront with them about what they're getting, but it will be fully functional and working when they get it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.